This is to watch this video for Thursday, September 6, 2018. The SPY still kind of in this pullback into the what I call the buy zone between the 8 and the 20. So in other words, it's still holding its uptrend nicely. Still low volume. Remember, Monday was a holiday, so we are in a holiday week, and I expect things to get a little bit more normal, whatever normal is in the market, starting next week. I think you'll get more volume coming in. Okay, so it's a little bit of an odd watch list going into Thursday. And that's because, well, you'll see. NBEV, if I go to 5-minute candles, you see it had this huge pop at the end of the day. And then it looks like it moved up so fast it was halted, then came out of the halt up here and then sold off since then. In after hour, I think it closed somewhere around $2. Certainly worth watching tomorrow after that pop. All right, EYPT. Nothing really interesting here, except that in after hours, and this is what I meant by my watch list is a little weird. You had NBEV just because of that late day pop. EYPT is on kind of a gap watch play. It went to like 249 in after hours. I'm not sure how much volume there was, but it certainly was getting a little bit of volume in after hours. So that one's potential gap play. CLDR. To continue my odd list for tomorrow. Usually it's stuff based on the daily chart, but CLDR is another one that is gapping in after hours. Closed at 1441 and trading up at 1655 in after hours. You might want to note the 200-day there, 1626. So another potential gap play tomorrow. AWX. This one's obscure. Had this crazy move back here, then a couple little flashes. But otherwise, it's just kind of chopping sideways. But it's like, 3 days in a row it's closed above its open. This one looks kind of like it could rip if it can break over this 3-day high. So I'm going to keep it on watch. I'm not in love with it. JD, there's nothing pretty about this chart, but believe it or not, I have it on bounce watch. That is whenever I have candles and the volume stick that look like they're reaching out to touch each other, and you kind of have that here, right? The volume or the candlestick straight down, volume straight up. Generally, that's a sign that you're near at least short-term capitulation. If you go to the weekly here, JD, you can see all the trading that's ever happened in it, and certainly interesting around 20. Now, keep in mind, it's still at 26 something. So the only reason I point this out is if it does continue to fall for another week or two, that is certainly an area to watch, the $20 area. But back to the daily. This thing is getting way ahead of itself. Let's see, 4 or 5 sessions ago, it was $33, and now it's down to 26. So I think that's kind of setting up for a snapback bounce one of these days, maybe tomorrow. VHC, now we've got a gap fill. I liked it more yesterday than I do today because it's all the way back down, which whenever you have good news or what sounds like good news, and then the thing over the next few days round trips to where it started before the good news, you really don't have any passion behind the thing. Even if it bounces tomorrow, everyone who got long since the news, and this was Apple can't appeal anymore, and they're supposed to get $500 million or something. Don't quote me on that from Apple. Anytime you get a gap up like that, and I've always said the market never makes anything easy, so buying the gap up 3 sessions ago wouldn't have worked for anybody. Then the next day, people say, okay, now it's a bargain, and then now you've got a gap fill. So everyone who's gotten long since the news is underwater. So this is not set up for a big rip. So anyway, something to keep in mind, but I had it on bounce watch the last 2 days, so I'm putting it on bounce watch again today. INSY had the big rip here, 3 days lower, declining volume. You kind of have it close to a gap fill also. So I don't love it either, but if it's going to bounce, I'd certainly want it to bounce tomorrow, so it'll be on watch. IGC had it on bounce watch, one of the lower priced pot stocks. Unfortunately, today gapped up, which took, I think, a lot of potential mustard out of any kind of rip today. But since it gapped up and then closed red, I'm going to watch it again for a bounce tomorrow. And then lastly, I've got TA, which had the big pop yesterday, but gave most of it back. Then today an inside day. I certainly like this over today's high. If it gets through 6, then it might get through yesterday's high over 610. I believe it's a nickel spreader, so be careful. And then maybe it rips. So who knows? I'm not in love with this list, but one of these gappers might play out pretty well for us. So I'm going to watch them closely, and we'll add some gappers to this list as we spot them in the pre-market tomorrow. And really looking forward to next week. I'm just grinding it higher until volume comes back in this market, which I suspect trading is going to get better next week, but certainly not trading big right now. I'm trying to be green every day, but I'm certainly not killing it. I'm just grinding it higher. Hats off to everyone in the chat room. You guys, teamwork's been fantastic, and I'm going to leave it at that. We'll talk to everybody tomorrow. Have a good night.